Hey everybody, this is Bill. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the Color and Pageantry, our section of the channel that we devote to college football. This week we're going to be looking at our Week 12 Top 25. We're also going to take a look at who is out from last week's Top 25 and who is looking to gain a spot in next week's rankings. In addition, we'll look at and review who's hot around the country and who's not. But before we get to this week's Top 25, let's jump down the rabbit hole for a couple minutes on the coaching silly season. Now, Auburn looks focused on Ole Miss coach Lane Kiffin. Now, although Kiffin was born in Lincoln, Nebraska, and his dad Monty is a Nebraska native and was on the defensive staff of the Cornhuskers national championship teams in the early 70s, we don't think Kiffin is in play there. Auburn looks like the only spot we could see Kiffin move to, and given the performance of Ole Miss at Arkansas Saturday night, it appears Kiffin was perhaps unfocused in preparation. They got blasted. Now, if Auburn is unable to land Kiffin, if I'm Kiffin, I'd hang right there at Ole Miss. But if Auburn can get him, great. But if they can't, I don't know where Auburn is going. I'd have to think Deion Sanders would be the next guy on their list. Now, at Nebraska, there are some dream candidates, perhaps Kiffin is one, that appear unreasonable for the Cornhuskers. We think 4 people are in play. Luke Fickell at Cincinnati, Chris Kleiman at Kansas State, Lance Leopold at Kansas, and Kalen DeBoer at Washington. All have reasons to stay at their present spots, particularly DeBoer. He just got to Washington. But Nebraska appears with the enormous fan support and their spot in the Big Ten to have advantages over each of the spots these coaches are at. Now, does A.D. Trev Alberts have a rabbit in the hat? Is he gonna disappoint by hiring somebody beneath that group of 4 I just mentioned? We don't think so. Trev is a smart guy. He's well connected. We think he's going to get this right. I would look for something next weekend on Nebraska. At Arizona State, we still think Kenny Dillingham, Oregon's offensive coordinator, is probably your guy there. Over at Texas A&M, now do they make a move to oust Jimbo Fisher? That's going to cost them a ton of money. But if you ain't got anybody in the stands and there's disarray, that's going to cost you money also. That would create a big-time ripple effect if Fisher got let go. Now, Fisher might just land at West Virginia. That seems to be about to open over there. And he grew up and is from West Virginia. So we see him landing there. Would Baylor's Dave Aranda leave the Bears to come to A&M? If he did that, would Matt Rule, who used to be at Baylor, come back to Baylor? Oh my goodness. We could weave a web here, folks. Nothing here has happened yet, but we're just kind of thinking about it. Now at Georgia Tech, we think Deion Sanders is a home run if they can put it together, but we just don't see them doing that. Would Bama offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien land here, or is he wanting to get back in the NFL? Maybe it's Jamie Chadwell from Coastal Carolina. He could be a home run for the Jackets. Working in the area, he could really be something good there for the Jackets, so we're going to keep our eye on that situation. Now, Colorado is seemingly a perfect fit for Illinois' defensive coordinator, Ryan Walters, who's a Colorado native and a former Buff player. Another former Buff player, Eric Bieniemy, currently the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator, he might be a candidate. And I don't know, but might Tom Herman be interested in this spot? We'll keep our eyes on the Buffs. All right, folks, the heat will turn to boil by this time next week on this topic, and we wonder who else might get axed. Add their name, add another school to the list of people looking for coaches. It's going to be really interesting next weekend after the games are over. All right, so let's look at who fell out last week and who's looking to get in. Now, we had 3 teams fall out of our top 25 for this week. That's UCF. They were 20th. They lost to Navy at home. Duke. They were 22nd. They lost to Pittsburgh. And Oklahoma State fell in bedlam to Oklahoma. They were 24th. Now looking to get in. Washington State is right there. What a great season for the Cougars. They're in the Apple Cup this weekend. South Carolina. Boy, howdy did they lay one on Tennessee this past weekend. Man, that was an eye-opening situation there. Mississippi State is a good football team. Illinois about had Michigan beat. A great call for Michigan's behalf. Really set Bielema off. And Illinois, a fine game there. University of Texas San Antonio looks good. Louisville, Purdue is in position to win the Big Ten West if they can get everything going their way. Arkansas, UCF, Pittsburgh, Duke, Boise State, Wake Forest, NC State, Baylor, who almost upset TCU, and Minnesota round out these teams in the 7-4 range that are looking to gain a big win and gain a spot in next week's top 25. All right, so let's jump into the top 25 for this week. Number 25 is Iowa, 7-4. They got a win over Minnesota using their defense, as usual, for the Hawkeyes to get the win. Cincinnati looking to get back in there under Coach Luke Fickell. They're 9-2. Coastal Carolina, they could not play this week against Virginia due to the tragic events last week. They could have possibly used a victory over them to enhance their situation, but no harm, no foul there. We're not going to play that game under those conditions. Coastal Carolina, they're 23rd at 9-1. Tulane is 9-2. They're 22nd. A big win for them. Texas, they're looking really good. They bombed Kansas, avenging last year's loss. They're 7-4. They're at 21st. Oregon State, the Beavers are a decent football team. Don't discount this group. They've got Oregon this week. That's going to be a big game. I'm going to keep my eyes on that. But Oregon State is 20th. Ole Miss fell at Arkansas, just blasted by the Hogs. I don't know what was going on out there. That was like 42-6 at one time. It's just ridiculous. I can't imagine. Maybe, like we said earlier, Lane Kiffin looking on to something else. I don't know, but that was not good at all. North Carolina fell at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's pulled off a couple of upsets this year since they fired their coach. Very interesting there for Tech. UCLA losing a very close one to Southern Cal. They're 17th, and Utah fell to Oregon. They're 16th. Notre Dame is 15th at 8-3. Now the Irish have pulled off 5 wins in a row. They're looking pretty. They barely got by Navy, but they're looking pretty good. They got Southern Cal this weekend. Going to be a big football game. Kansas State poised to play in the Big 12 championship game. They have had a fantastic season out there. The Cats really looking good. Florida State, they are on a little bit of a run themselves. They've got the University of Florida showing up in Tallahassee Friday night on that one. The Seminoles have got to win it to keep themselves rolling. Washington, a big season so far for the Huskies. They're ranked 12th at 9-2. Penn State, now their win last week beating Maryland 30-0 looks really good considering Ohio State struggled with Maryland this past weekend. So Penn State, they're number 11th at 9-2. And Tennessee, having fell at South Carolina, they got bombed and unfortunately lost their fine quarterback Hendon Hooker for the remainder of the season with the ACL injury. That was tough to watch. I kind of knew the minute I saw that didn't look good. Tennessee, just, boy, what a interesting situation there. They just got trucked. Don't know what happened there, but what a night for South Carolina. They ran out of fireworks. They couldn't celebrate the last touchdown. They scored too many of them. Ran out of fireworks. That's the kind of night it was there in Columbia with the Gamecocks. Good grief. Oregon with their big win over Utah. They're at number 9. They've got Oregon State this week. Clemson, they've got South Carolina. They're 10-1. They're number 8. They're looking to get back in the playoff. Alabama, 9-2, has Auburn without a coach. Coming up in the Iron Bowl. That's a big one, as you know. LSU, they're 9-2. They're ranked 6th. They're going to play the Texas Aggies. Boy, if the Aggies got anything, this would be the week to show it. And stranger things have happened. Southern Cal, their big victory over UCLA, and they're ranked 5th, 10-1. They are looking at the playoff if they can keep things going. Now, before we move on to our top 4, we want to take note from Brett Ciancia over at Pick 6 Previews, who informs us that this is the first time since 2009 the top 4 teams have been 11-0. So that's interesting to take forward with us. Appreciate that from Brett over there. Like his stuff, Pick 6 Previews on Twitter. Check that out if you haven't done that already. Texas Christian is 4th, 11-0. Michigan and Ohio State, both 11-0. They're 2nd and 3rd. They did not look good this week, either one of them. They're limping into the game. Maybe they're waiting. I don't know. Michigan looks like they can run the football. I'm not sure if their running back Blake Corum is going to be ready to go. They've got a good backup, Donovan Edwards. Michigan can run it. Ohio State, they're more finesse. Their passing game has not been what it usually is, so going to be an interesting ball game in Columbus, as it always is. Ohio State, Michigan, we'll be watching. And the Georgia Bulldogs, not particularly impressive at Lexington against Kentucky, but they got the W. They're the number 1 team in the land. For us, heading into this rivalry weekend. They do have Georgia Tech. They should get by that unscathed. The Bulldogs remain number one. All right, now who's hot? Well, so far this year, we've cursed Syracuse, Liberty, and North Carolina in previous commentary. So we hope to not send any bad vibes over to this week's on fire team, which is Washington. Playing out there in Pac-12 after dark, we're not sure how many folks have seen what first-year head coach Kalen DeBoer is doing over in Seattle with these Huskies. Now, DeBoer, who came over to the Huskies from Fresno State, served early notice in pasting Michigan State. After starting out 4-0, Washington fell in a close one at UCLA and may have gotten twice as they then fell to aimless Arizona State in Tempe by a touchdown. But since then, Washington 5 straight victories, including impressive wins over Oregon State and at Oregon. Now the Huskies are on the road in the Apple Cup this weekend to face a very much improved Washington State squad. And they have the opportunity to finish 10-2, and I believe if the cards fall just right, they still have a shot at the Pac-12 title game. I believe that's the case. Even so, this has been a fantastic season for the Huskies, exceeding expectations all over the place. We've been impressed. I don't think I would be a team that would want to play them in a bowl game unless somebody poaches Kalen DeBoer. So who's not hot? Well, we've always thought highly of Syracuse coach Dino Babers, but we knew he was on the hot seat coming into 2022. Most thought little of the Orange coming into the season, but although we also picked them last in the ACC Atlantic, we noted they had some top talent, most notably linebacker Michael Jones and running back Sean Tucker, and the Orange could surprise. Now, they did start out 6-0. They thumped Louisville in the opener, and they scored wins over Purdue and NC State as underdogs. But they've now lost 5 straight games, and even though these losses came to some very strong teams, including Notre Dame, Clemson, and Florida State, this has taken the early shine away from the season. Now, the Orange really need to win this weekend at Boston College to keep the chattering class among the boosters quiet. It's going to be a tough game because BC, they need to win too. Now, it was great to see Lee Corso back on game day, which was held out in beautiful Yellowstone country for the Brawl of the Wild. Man, it was good to see him out there. I'm glad he's doing better. Also, what a moving piece from ESPN's Andrea Adelson on the tragedy at the University of Virginia last week. We're going to link to that down below in case you missed it. Present that there for you. What a great piece. Now, we were all touched by the tributes around the country that we saw this past weekend, and I particularly liked the yard lines of the numbers of the players painted orange in the Pac-12. I thought that was great. And I think that would be a fantastic idea for the college football playoff games this year. I'm hoping that they might do that. That was really neat. Now, we would love to hear your thoughts on our rankings. Do drop us some comments. Let us know we got somebody wrong. You think somebody ranked incorrect. We'd love to hear what you think. Please do drop us some comments down there. Now, you can also feel welcome to follow us on Facebook. We're over at the Color and Pageantry. Listen, if you liked the video, please get it a like and do subscribe to the page if you want to keep along with our top 25. We're gonna have some bowl predictions when they come out. That's going to be kind of fun. But we really want to appreciate and thank you for watching. We're going to do it again next week after the rivalry weekend here. There are going to be some upsets. I mean, boy, who saw Tennessee getting clobbered like that? I didn't see that coming a mile away. But anyway, somebody else is going to get beat this weekend, and we're going to talk about it next week, and we'll see you then. Thanks.